Well, I tell you, what's been amazing for me is just that, everywhere in this country, but particularly as I go around the world, and go to film festivals where you see these brilliant filmmakers. We were involved, my company, Louverture Films, was involved with a film that screened at the Cannes Film Festival. And it was supposed to be a major film screening. Ilya Suleiman, a Palestinian filmmaker, and people would say one of the best filmmakers in the world, and I wouldn't argue with him one bit. He had done a movie, filmed a movie, made a movie called Divine Intervention, which was supposed to have won one of the major awards, the Palme d'Or, 5 years ago at the Cannes Film Festival. But for some reason, they were told to go back in, the jury was told go back in, because they wouldn't allow that Palestinian film to be, to win such a major award. Well, we became involved in this next film, The Time That Remains. Let me tell you, Grace, it's a masterpiece. It's funny, it's engaging, it's satirical, and everything else about from 1948, from a Palestinian point of view. That film was totally ignored. It got the longest standing ovation in the history of the Cannes Film Festival, over 5 minutes. It was ignored. The press wasn't there and everything else. Now, it was shown at the Toronto Film Festival, and it slotted in a position where it didn't get a lot of attention, because Cameron Bailey, the director of programming at the Toronto Film Festival, saw the movie in Cannes, but it was slotted in a way. But what overshadowed its presence was, as you know, what had happened was a number of people, including Naomi Klein, myself, and a number of artists signed on to a petition, which we were questioning the fact that they have this thing, this city to city programming of films, and they picked Tel Aviv without picking any Palestinian filmmakers, and without even looking at Tel Aviv as some sort of glorious place, without placing in that the relationship or the situation in Palestine, never mentioning Gaza, whatever. It was a big promotional thing supported by the Israeli propaganda machine. Big promotional thing. And so what happened was, a lot of us, and numbers were referred to now as fascists or Jew haters or people who didn't want the freedom of speech or whatever. And Naomi Klein is taking a big hit for that, But in that sense, his film, and then we were invited and been told we were in the New York Film Festival, and basically all of a sudden just removed from New York in the film festival. It's quite amazing, in that sense. But the filmmaking around which we have a documentary that we're doing with a former member of the PLO, that we're doing with a very, very wonderful documentary. We have another documentary that we've been working with in terms of filmmakers, a story about the role that an Algerian film for the Algerian director, a story called Free Man, a story about the role that Muslims played in sheltering Jews in the mosque during the Vichy regime, and it's incredible because it deals with fascism, the war against the anti-fascists, deals with issues around decolonization. Really wonderful film, and those are the kind of things. But you see that kind of activity happening everywhere, and to see it emerge here, and particularly under the climate, as we talk about the collapsing of this, I think a lot of these filmmakers are going to find ways in which they're going to be able to kind of be the kind of forefronts. Ozzy said to me, it's going to take artists to save us from the machines, So it's going to be. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's the most exciting period in my career right now.
All right, well, this is the most exciting time. Now, I want to talk to you about Africa,
Okay.
CLR James, because I understand Rick says you want to do a film about Black Jacobins, so you've been thinking about it.
I've written a script, not based upon like Jacobins. It's based the catalyst, the reason why, was that I didn't know about the Haitian Revolution. So I read Black Jacobins at about, in about 1971. I read Black Jacobin when I was a student. And I was blown away by that. So, and of course, the idea of being an actor wasn't even part of my dream memory or whatever at that time. But for about the last 25 years, I've been trying to do a script on the Haitian Revolution. And we put it together, the script. Over the last 10 years ago now, we've had a script for 4 years. And the focus of our script are looking at two worldviews, one of traditionalism and one of modernity. The other focus of our script is that what does it mean for a slave, what does freedom mean for a slave? And I said, so a lot of the themes around this center around this story, focusing on Toussaint specifically, because Toussaint being the thinker or basically the one who was able to militarily and philosophically begin to shape this Haitian Revolution.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
I saw a production of Black Jacobins in London in 1986 when I went there London declared a week in celebration of C.L.R. James.
Okay.
And I went there to speak. The production was terrible.
Yeah, okay.
What has happened since, in this last period, is that people like Wangari Maathai, the women, have been able to point out that the intellectuals of the 60s, the West Indian and the African American and the English, the African, people like Padmore and C.L.R. James, and people who had been educated here, like Nkrumah, had a very limited view of Africa.
Okay.
That their view of Africa was essentially that of the nation state.
Okay.
And Nkrumah thought that if he just could control the politics, he would be able to do everything.
Absolutely.
They didn't recognize that they were thinking within the colonialist mentality and operating within the colonialist space.
Okay. All right.
A book has just been written.
Right here.
Ending British Rule in Africa by a woman at the University of Indiana who came to me and she refers to how at the very last moment as she was completing her book, I talked to her about the limitations of that generation of leadership.
Okay.
And she said she was able to understand that we have to look at those limitations in the light of the context of the time and how they were unable, that the independence movement was just beginning, like the black movement was just beginning.
Yeah.
And what has happened since is that this woman, operating from the point of view of a woman, she's doing that word, and from the environment.
Okay.
And she's the one who got the Peace Prize.
Well, I know Wangari.
All right.
I know
okay.
her, yeah.
She has been able to talk about going back to what she calls the micronations, to the culture of the tribes, and to recognize that they lived in harmony with their environment. And because she proceeds from the perspective of the women, which the guys who took over in the 60s never did. They were thinking more in terms of the cities than of the rural economy.